Guys, it just feels like every day is Christmas. We've got another top prospect being called up, and it's Matt Shaw. And then we have some mustache IL guys for you on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Onne. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us as well. And guys, give us a chance on the insider track, where it's going to be your secret weapon to get that competitive edge over your league mates in your fantasy league. The link is in the bio wherever listening or watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And all right, guys, we're jumping into this one. I mentioned it up top. Matt Shaw is back, and we got a bunch of other top prospects. I actually wrote this list earlier in the day before Shaw got the call. So, this is a stash episode, but you know what? Shaw got the call. We might as well talk about him. Matt, what do you think, brother? I know you're a big Matt Shaw guy.
I love Shaw. A little disappointed how he started off the season, but they did the right thing and sent him down. It looks like he's got adjusted. I mean, you look at what he's done so far since being sent down with 91 runs, 91 at-bats, 22 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 6 bombs, 14 ribs, 5 stolen bases, batting and lovely 286. And I also love to see the 17 walks to 11 strikeouts. Look, before he got the call, he was just like super lackluster. It didn't look like he was confident. He was also like, something we also got to remember too is he was hurt going into the season, and their season started a week early because they played in Japan. And, he didn't even play during that series really. I think he managed to play like the last game and then just couldn't get it going. I forget what the injury was, but essentially I think it was hampering him all along, and it was able to kind of get right in the minors. The average exit velocity was at like 82 miles an hour while he was in the bigs, barreling only 2.5% of the time, barely creating hard contact at all. Everything was pretty in the garbage except for the fact that he could just walk like a monster, and he had great sprint speed at 89th percentile. So I look at it like this when it comes to Shaw. The guy is a top end prospect for a reason, and a little stumble or fall and scrape a knee isn't going to define his whole career. So look at Pete Crow Armstrong, for instance, perfect example. Last year he came up, looked absolute duty, went back down, came up, kind of gave us a little bit of hope, performed a little bit, and then boom, look at this year. He's like one of the top players in baseball right now. This could be the same story with Shaw, without a doubt. So I'm adding him everywhere at only 26% owned.
Matt, I'm with you on Shaw, brother. The kid went down, made some adjustments, was raking down in the minors. And those Cubs have been pretty good with prospects, over the last few years. Matt, you mentioned PCA doing his thing this year. And my favorite saying, guys, if you are an everydayer, this one, progress isn't linear. It's just how it goes with prospects. Some of them come up and, we got spoiled by Acuna, Soto, and Tatis. But you know what? There's other guys, like you mentioned PCA, Matt, who else? There's a couple other guys, the young guys, have struggled over the past few years that wound up figuring it out. But you know what? That's the name of the game, and that's what we're looking at here. Still 23 years old. He's got a lot of pop in the bat. He, is going to have good shots at a lot of RBIs in, this lineup, this great Cubs lineup. And batting average, hey, he's a guy who has the potential to hit for batting average. Are we going to knock on it? No, not going to knock on wood on it. But you know what? I think we should at least expect a little bit of power, some RBIs, and at least the opportunity for Shaw to grow in this Cubs lineup. But let's move into the more of the stash part of this episode. Right? Oh, real quick. Matt Shaw is the number 18 overall prospect, by the way, in all of the MLB, according to MLB.com. So that should just give you a little bit of note on his prospect pedigree. But like I said, let's keep things pushing. Let's move on to this next guy. And man, Jacob Mizarowski has this kid really locked in and figured it out this year, man. He always had the stuff to do it. I think it was 2 years ago at the Future game where he was striking out all the top prospects in the league. Walks. He always left too many guys on base. Last year, Mizarowski pitched 97 innings. He had 60 walks in that span. Not good. Even the year before, still had good other numbers, but, the ERAs were still pretty solid and, the whips were okay. Major strikeout guy. but couldn't figure out the walks. So far this year through 8 starts, it's a 1.46 ERA, and this is in AAA for Mizarowski. 49 innings, 59 strikeouts, only 19 walks. And that's what you really want to see from a guy like Mizarowski. Batters are hitting 159 against him. 0.89 whip, which is down from a 1.20 last year, really shows you that he's figured it out. Hit 103 miles an hour on his fastball in his last start down in the minors. 80 grade curveball, has a big 80 grade fastball, has a big curveball, has a nice slider. It's just really always the control. The stuff, is there. He has the makings of, a potential, I want to say a potential, ace-like caliber pitcher, but he just has to keep that control going. And so far this year, it looks great. I don't think he's super, super far away from a call-up. I know Woodruff and somebody else we're going to talk about later in this episode are, supposed to be back soon, but that Brewers rotation isn't really, really great. I'm actually going to pull it up right now as we're talking about it to see if there actually is a realistic spot, even with Woodruff. And what did I say? Well, I didn't mention him, but we'll say his name anyway. Aaron Civale coming back. Yeah, there's totally right now. It's Freddie Peralta and everybody else. We know Logan Henderson has looked good in his first couple of starts, but he's no proven thing. And then it's Quinn Priester and Chad Patrick. So Quinn Priester, has some prospect pedigree, not super familiar with Chad Patrick. There's room. There's room for Mizarowski. He could be coming soon. And like I said, has really great stuff. Could be a difference maker. Definitely in leagues where you got, NA spots, maybe stash him. But everywhere else, just kind of throw him on your waiver wire for now and wait for that call up.
Yeah, I mean, I love like the physique of the dude, like 6'7", nearly 200 pounds. Like the dude is definitely like your prototypical guy I like to see that can throw hard. And the stuff is there. Again, I like what you said about the command being there and everything else. So I mean, definitely a watch. I mean, if your pitching's horrendous or if you're in like a 15-man league and you got deep benches, then I'm probably gonna stash as well. But my 12-man, my 10-man leagues, yeah, watch list for sure. Let's move on though. Let's talk about Marcelo Mayer, the Boston Red Sox. He's another one I think needs to be stashed. He's any day at this point. I think we're around Super 2, if not going through it as we speak. It's so ambiguous on when it actually happens. They never actually even put a date on it just to screw with us fantasy players. But ultimately, Mayer is just having a killer 25 season, 79 plate appearances, 159 at bats, 27 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, 8 bombs, 40 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting .264 on the season. And I also want to give you a little bit of a baseline of who this kid is too. So last year through 300 at bats, he only had 8 home runs. He has 8 home runs through half of that. Then in 23, he had 13 home runs and 314 at bats. He's on a better home run pace than he's had in his whole career in the minors, and I'm loving every second of it. Look, I've always wondered why, from a guy that I've seen, watched his career a little bit and seen just like what he's done, how he's produced in the power category, but yet they had and just been like lackluster and wanting more. But then wondering why, okay, he has a game power rating of 45 out of 55, a raw power out of 55 out of 60. And then finally to see the power numbers kind of emerging this year, the year that I think he's going to be called up and there's a spot for him. I think that now it's kind of a little bit more encouraging for me to want to stash him because I think he's just going to be outright amazing at some point in his career. Maybe not right away. I'm not going to overhype this and be like, oh, he's the next best thing in baseball. But I will say this. He has a potential to be an instant impactor, maybe not at a super high level, but somebody that puts the bat to the ball, can get on base. And, as long as he's hitting decent in that lineup, he's going to produce. It's just a matter of, is it right away or is it something else? But I'm willing to take the shot just based off the prospect pedigree.
And I actually have some interesting thoughts and potentially news here with Mayer. But you know what? You're going to have to stick around for that. And we got a couple of more prospects, Brady House and Otto Kemp. And then we're going to get into guys like Eury Perez and why you need to go stash him on your IL right now. Coming up next. And all right, guys, let's talk about our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. So with their surprising insights, when I personally first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. With their easy collaboration, managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And then, guys, are you at the point in the season where you're struggling in your fantasy league, and you need that little secret weapon that's going to put you over the top? Why don't you take the minute and join us on the Insider Track? When you join the Insider Track, you're going to get exclusive access to Matt and I. When we do our waiver wire rank episodes, you're going to get rankings, telling you how you should prioritize those guys when you're picking them up. You're going to get those instant prospect call-up notifications so you can get the top prospects on your team before anybody else in your league. And guys, even if you are doing good, and you just want to gloat a little bit, and talk to Matt and I about some fantasy baseball, give us a chance on the Insider Track. The link is in the bio wherever you're listening, watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. All right, now back to our scheduled programming. Let's talk about Marcelo Mayer. And the thing here is, right, I think there's a path. I've heard some rumblings that, maybe Kristen Campbell, he's been getting some reps at first. They move Campbell to first, kind of opens that middle infield spot open for Marcelo Mayer, plays shortstop. Has also played a bit of second. Can definitely handle it as well. Campbell's glove at second hasn't been, that good at all. Hopefully it could be a little bit better at first. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know if they're actually going to go with it. Like I said, I just heard some rumblings that he was taking reps at first base. That's Kristen Campbell, which would make the room for Marcelo Mayer. Matt, of course, jump in, brother.
They also haven't played outfield because he just gained outfield eligibility. So they're moving Campbell all around. So it seems more and more feasible.
Yeah. Campbell's been playing outfield for a little bit now too. So been switching him around there. And then even if you're a Campbell owner, or Campbell's been struggling out there right now, I will say that kind of a buy low opportunity too, with the guy about to gain potentially another positional eligibility. I would say progression isn't always linear, but with Mayer, that makes room for him. Man, Abraham Toro is not going to be that guy at first base. So I really think they want to get these top prospects up here. And then, hey, listen, don't forget about Roman Anthony, the number one prospect in all of baseball. That's a bonus one for you guys paying attention. But let's move on to the next guy. Let's talk about Brady House. Interesting young player. I honestly think he's a solid stash for now. Bear with me here as I pull up his page. Yes, Brady House here, 95th prospect in all of baseball, Washington Nationals, third baseman, having a really bounce back year. He had, pretty strong showings through rookie ball, A ball, even 21, 22, 23 had great years last year, struggled a little bit. But this year bouncing back in AAA, Brady House is 282 batting average, 42 games played, 26 runs, 9 doubles, a triple, 8 homers, 24 RBIs, 15 walks to 47 strikeouts. Not loving that, but you know what? Listen, guys get away with striking out like that. And Brady House is a big boy. 6'4", 208, really known for his power, could be a potential 30 home run type of guy. And listen, these Nationals been developing. Look at CJ Abrams, look at James Wood. Dylan Cruz, a little bit of a mixed bag so far, but he's got the talent as well. Brady House, could potentially get up there. I don't even who's Washington got, playing third base right now. Look, I'm probably about to sound silly because it's somebody good. No, Jose Tena. There you go. So I'm not going to sound stupid. No, nobody good really at third base. So there's an opening. It just depends on what the Nationals want to do. If they want to get this, young stud up there who's been mashing in AAA, might as well go for it. I think the Nationals at this point need to go all in. They need to acquire some pitching and get this kid Brady House up there. And in 2 to 3 years, if they play this the right way, they could be a real threat, and Brady House himself right now, not a stash in most leagues, but you know what, at least throw him on your watch list and monitor what Washington's doing over there. And then once again, join us on the Insider Track, because when he gets called up, we'll got you there first.
Yeah, I mean, I like Brady House. I liked them last year going into the season, and then he kind of had a down year as a whole. I like to see that he bounced back and figured out whatever was wrong, because he's always been like a 270 to 300 hitter in the minors, and then last year hitting 241 was really interesting. And it wasn't like he had like a massive jump like he hasn't played in the higher levels, just, first licks of AAA. And even there, he was hitting 250. It was really struggling when he was in AA at batting 234. I like the fact that he adjusted in AAA and is able to like kind of get things going. I think he's going to be more of an second half of the year kind of guy, just based off of trajectory and maybe control. If anything, he'll probably be if we're talking early mid July, but that I don't think it's anytime soon. Just based off of it's not like they're going to push or anything, and I don't think he's on the trade block if anything. So Brady House is somebody that keep an eye out for, like Dom said, watch list, but not somebody I'm stashing even in deeper leagues. But let's move on. Let's talk about Otto Kemp of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's somebody that I'm going to be honest. I have no idea who he is until Dom put him on the show notes. But from what I've looked at, when the list was sent over to me, was essentially he's got power. Okay. He has 10 home runs right now through 170 innings pitched, not innings pitched, at bats. He's batting 324 on the season, and can chip in some stolen bases. Last year through 442 at bats, he had about like 82 runs, 24 doubles, 9 triples, 16 home runs, 66 ribs, 20 stolen bases, batted 285. It's been a mixed bag of tricks with him, since getting the call, since getting drafted, and just like constantly fluttering, like of like, hey, depending on the level he's on, he struggles, but then he figures it out kind of type deal. So I look at it like this. I want to see him. I like that he's, progressed all the way to AAA, and the struggles he was showing in AAA in 24 have kind of fixed itself now, because last year when he got the promotion to AAA, he's batting 200 and like 45 at bats. Now he's 170 bats out and he's 300 batting 324. I like that. I like the power showing. I like all of this. You're going a little bit deeper. You look at just like what Fangraph is talking about with Otto Kemp, and it looks like, what, he could possibly have a little bit of power and just be exciting for all of us. So Otto Kemp isn't a stash, but a guy you need to be aware of, because he can be somebody that could be like I don't think that 300 is real. Let's just say, oh God, I'm having a brain fart. The old Philly player that used to only hit home runs.
Ryan Howard.
No, not that old. He's still
Oh,
he'll be another Reese Hoskins, essentially, if he gets the call. But the problem is, too, I don't know where he's going to be playing is the other thing, right? Like, he plays third, second, and first. Like, second and first are pretty much locked up on the Phillies. Third's up to debate. Like, there is room if they move Bohm. But if Bohm don't get moved, Otto Kemp isn't coming up. So that's the other aspect of it as well. So, unless we start seeing him play outfield or, specifically center field, which I don't know if he's got the wheels of the glove to go out there and do. I don't foresee him coming up this year.
Yeah, man. My main thing with Kemp was I was basically going to say it takes an injury. It's going to take an injury here for him to get up. But I will say this. All of the other middle infielders, honestly, all of the other infielders in general in the Phillies minor league system are super young. And it's not like any of them are beating down the door. Even like Aiden Miller, who's their number 2 prospect, is hitting 232 this year, struggling. So Otto Kemp just seems like he's next up. He's made some adjustments. He's a little bit older for a prospect, 25 years old. He, like I said, there might be an injury in Philly, right? And he looks like he's going to be that potentially that next guy. If it's a second, third, maybe first as well, could be that next guy up. 324 on the year, with the 10 bombs that Matt mentioned, 37 RBIs with 37 runs in 43 games, hit 285 last year, just has been progressing in the right direction. And I think if there is an injury, don't be afraid if you hear the name. He could be useful for fantasy purposes. That was the main reason that we wanted to mention him here today. But guys, with that being said, we're going to talk about Eury Perez, boy, and he's been looking pretty good down in the minors. And we got the Yeti on the show today and more coming up next. All right, guys, we are back, and let's talk about him, man. Eury Perez, he is on the way back from Miami. He's been down there pitching in the minors, and he's actually looked pretty good down there so far. Another guy that was a former, he was up there with Painter and Grayson, when they were coming up doing their thing, in the minors as well. all, arguably one of the best arms at the time. But so far, 5 starts actually down there for Eury so far. Only 10 innings. A few of them have been short, but 12 strikeouts, only 3 walks, 180 ERA. Whip is a little bit high at 1.2. Just a couple too many hits, but I just love that he's not walking guys. The hits, sometimes it happens, right? But as he's not putting guys on base, love to see that. Love to see the low ERA there too. The kid's got a good fastball. He's got good breaking stuff. He's 6'8", 220. You want to talk about a pitcher with a big frame that's going to be intimidating on the mound. And listen, Eury had success in the bigs already. He's been up and he's shown us that, listen, his first 19 starts in 2023, 3.15 ERA, 91 innings, 108 strikeouts, only 31 walks, had a 1.12 whip. There's potential for Eury Perez to be very, very good. And don't forget, he's coming off the significant injury. Didn't really pitch at all in 24. So, the whip, like I said, is usually the last thing to come back. But I really think Eury Perez is an absolute mustache right now. Honestly, if you got the IL spot and you don't have him stashed and he's available in your league, it's kind of on you at this point. But 29% owned for Eury Perez. When does his next start come? I think it's coming this week. Thursday. He's going to throw another start in AAA on Thursday. Honestly, early June seems to look like the return date for Yuri Perez, but you can get yourself arguably a top 30, 40 pitcher when he comes back. So go out there, snag Yuri Perez now, stash him.
Yeah. I mean, they were originally talking end of May. What's another week? I mean, end of May, June is like in 2 weeks. So, I mean, I like it. I also saw that too. Like he's hitting 98 miles an hour on his fastball. Things are just moving and grooving. And what I love too is, they're doing some really good things with him, Miami. Instead of the reason why I think his what do you call it? His return is delayed a little bit is they keep right after they feel he's good and he locked up, whatever their progression was, they send him back to Miami. He works with the pitching coach to work on, his releases and his grips and things like that to kind of mold his pitching movements and grips so that, he won't get hurt again and to also improve on those things. So everything they're doing with Yuri Perez is 1, conservative, 2, a developmental aspect of it, and 3, to make sure that he's going to be 100% when he returns. I love everything about it. I think this kid's going to come back and be a true stud. So, do not sleep on him. Literally add him. Don't do it to yourself. Let's move on. Let's talk about Spencer Arrighetti, the Yeti himself, playing for those Houston Astros. And a guy that Dom and I were pretty much saying you need to draft literally everywhere because, the potential is just outrageous for him. 35% owned is another thing that just makes me so upset. He's due back literally next week is when he's eligible. He went, and this is latest news, April 28th, right? So maybe like almost a month ago now. This is the last thing I got. Arrighetti underwent imaging on his fractured right thumb. Monday has shown a broken bone healing properly. Arrighetti was able to shed his cast, but he's not throwing at all. So here's the thing. They're going to wait until, he's a little bit more of a timetable. So I'm waiting to hear when he's going to get the throwing. What's the word I'm looking for? Throwing program going. And essentially that's where we're going to be more aggressive with the adding. But quite honestly, if you're not dealing with massive IL instances like I am, I'm stashing him and I'm going to hold him for as long as possible because I'd rather have him, ready and raring on my team than just sitting out there, especially if I have empty IL slots. Like he's a guy that just should be stashed because he's going to be an instant contributor as well. So that's Spencer Arrighetti.
Yeah, we love the Eddie on this podcast. We told you guys to draft him. It's unfortunate, he's dealing with the thumb issue right now. I'm sure, he's he's going to be great when he gets back. I'm trying to read up on some news, here too. Recent imaging has shown the bones healing properly. As Matt talked about, he shed his cast. It's not throwing yet. Mid-June, I would say, looks like here. That was the original timeline. 6 weeks from the injury. I would say early to mid-June. I would say closer to mid-June at this point if he's not even throwing yet. But the thing is when he ramps up, it's not like a major arm injury. It is a thumb. It's just getting that grip on the ball, basically making sure you can hold it the right way, throw your pitches the right way. If he can get that, it could be a quick recovery, maybe 2-3 minor league starts after he gets a couple rehab sessions in. So I don't think we're looking at. I think it's going to ramp up fairly quickly. So once again, if you missed out on the Eury Perez's and the guys like the higher end stashes right now, Arrighetti is definitely a solid backup plan because he can be absolutely dominant. Killed it down the stretch last year. I think it was the last 12 starts where he just was way over a K per nine, good ERA, good whip, and just really got things going. Once again, Spencer Arrighetti, Houston Astros. There. Let's move on to this next guy. Just feel like he's always on this show because he's always hurt. Tyler O'Neill. The same old song and dance with this guy. I mean, listen, when he's out there, he's hitting home runs and he's in what we would like to think is a good lineup, but they haven't been performing as good as we would like. But O'Neill, listen, they moved that wall in a little bit. In Baltimore, more balls should be getting out of the park for him. Good opportunity for RBIs. The thing is, he normally doesn't kill you in batting average. He could be a 240, 250 hitter with, a 30 home run type of pace. Not going to really steal too many bags. He's athletic, can steal a bag here and there. Has 2 on the year in 24 games, but we're not banking on him to be a big steals guy. Mainly a power RBI specialist who's not going to kill you in batting average. Tyler O'Neill's 42% owned on Yahoo at the moment, and the latest news on him, at least a couple weeks. Once again, probably looking at early June for Tyler O'Neill. I like the stash if you need power.
Yeah, he's one of the lower end names, I would say, in terms of priority, but he's definitely somebody that you know what, like, hey, you're dealing with a boatload of injuries. You lost guys that you were counting on. Hey, he's coming back sooner than other people, or you're dealing with like the Doyles or the Rookers that didn't really pan out that we drafted somewhat at a cost. Tyler O'Neill's out there, and at least you know what, you want to go out there and just kind of see if you can go out and hit him, and maybe he'll perform better than what you got going on now. But I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about Shane Bieber of the Cleveland Guardians. Somebody needs to be stashed now. They're going to be there's talking about mapping out his rehab starts and things like this as we speak. The update from the Guardians was today. Carl Willis said on Sunday that the organization has put together a draft of rehabilitation calendar for Bieber. Obviously he's coming back from, TJ. It's going to be a multi-week thing. So probably right after the All-Star break, second week of July, I think is the return. Look, it may say, hey, why we've stashed him so early, but Bieber was phenomenal last year before he went down to TJ. And you know what? He's a guy. If I know he's going to be back in a month and a half, I'm going to stash him, knowing that I'm going to get that instant impact. He's only 25% owned. And just a little reminder of what he was doing before he went down: 12 innings and 2 wins, 20 strikeouts, no earned runs, 0.92 whip. And that's just a small sample size of who Shane Bieber is. It's just like, we saw such an ugly year from him in 23, and then for him to come out the way he was in 24 between spring and the beginning of 24, it just got everybody all hot and bothered. The kid has just been a amazing talent throughout his whole career, and one bad year kind of really put a stain on him. And I feel like, okay, we're back in action now, coming back from the TJ. He needs to be stashed everywhere. Do not sleep on him. Kid's got great stuff and amazing K potential. Add him immediately.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on Bieber. Look at a guy like Chris Sale, another guy who, injury history, bad year. We were all out on him, besides me, because I had Chris Sale everywhere last year. It's almost like that kind of situation. We don't let one bad year throw us off of a 2-time All-Star. He did win the Cy Young right?
Yeah.
He won, Cy Young winner in 2020. The kid's proven everything he needs to prove. He might not be an ace, but can he pitch to a mid to low 3s ERA with over a K per 9 and a solid whip? Yeah, for sure. So there's no reason that we shouldn't be stashing Shane Bieber at the moment. Let's move on to our last guy, more of a deeper league cut here. It's Aaron Civale. Like I said, 5% owned on Yahoo here for Civale. Oh, did we mention what Bieber was? I don't know if we did.
Yeah, I did. 25%.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, brother. So Aaron Civale, like I said, he's got upside. He's good in stints. He'll give you a good 5, 6, 7 start run. Then he'll get bombed for 2 straight. And, it's kind of the poor man's Aaron Nola, if you will,
Or Cabrera.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not expecting huge things, but, can he have a 2023 type-ish season where it's a mid-3s ERA right under that K per 9 and a decent whip. Yeah, like I said, this is more for you guys that play in leagues where you literally can't find anything on the waiver wire and you're just scratching to get anything, on there. He's at 2% owned. I think I said 5. Let me correct myself. 2% owned for Aaron Civale. It's just a name who might be able to do something for you. I'm not going out there and banking on anything from him. He might go out there and get bombed in his first 2 starts back, and then he's just an automatically get him off every team, and he's done. And then what's his name comes up? Mizarowski. Mizarowski comes up, and then that's that. But there is potential here. He's a decent pitcher. He's got okay stuff, So like I said, for your deeper league guys, your 15s, you guys you crazy guys that playing anything deeper than a 15 or, your only type of players, stuff like that, Aaron Civale might be useful.
Yeah, he's always a great streaming option. Great call on like the super deep cut leagues, but my 10, my 12, I'm not really trying to look his way. NL, AL only. What AL? I believe, right? I'm not smoking. Yeah, NL. I'm out of it today. But your NL leagues only. That's where Civale becomes really more relevant. Other than that, I'm not touching him until I'm looking for a good stream against a cupcake of a matchup. It is what it is. But that's it for today, guys. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything can to share this show because we love doing it and we love bringing it to you each and every day. And when you're done, check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB. With that being said, guys, have a great day. Peace.
Sure.